Alright, so what we're going to build today is a New Year's resolution tracker. So we can add a date. So let's say we add a date here, and we say we want to learn French, and we say always wanted to learn, and we save this, and it will show up on our calendar, right? So we have a list of all the goals that we have, and it shows up there. So you have a lot of goals. Now you can click on a goal and you can edit it if you wanted to. You could also make changes. So you could set a reminder for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. You could add notes. So you could add a note and save those changes. So that's great. So anytime you click back on it, you would see that you have the notes that you added. And you can change it from pending in progress to completed. So in progress, change it to red. Actually, I think I'm going to change that to yellow. But anyway, and completed changes it to green. So yeah, you could remove it if you wanted to. You see what date it's set for. If you want to set it for in a month time, you could say in 1 month time, and then we have to go forward in a month. And we should see it somewhere there. So yeah, so learn French. That is probably it. Maybe. Right? So this is what we're going to build today. Right, so we have a project set up. We have a calendar, which is going to be where we're going to put in the calendar elements. We have the server, which is where we're going to request information from the server to save our dates. We have our template, which, you know, what the template is for. So the first thing we need to do is to build the calendar. So what we're actually going to do is we're actually using full calendar, which is our well, I don't think it's open source. You could pay for it as well, but there's a free version. So we're going to use full calendar to actually build the calendar. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We first have a div, and then we just put in ID calendar. Of course, we need so this tutorial is going to be a heavy JavaScript involved, JavaScript and maybe jQuery. So we're going to copy in our jQuery from our CDN. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And now I'm going to show you how to get into pulling our full calendar. Alright, so this is my web app. We are now started, so you can see New Year's resolution tracker, but no calendar. So this is full calendar. It looks like this. So it looks pretty cool. And you can change week or month or day. So it's actually really cool. But let's just see how to get started. So we click on get started. Let's say you have individual packages you could download. So we're going to download this, and we're just going to use the files. There's a scheduler, which is the premium product. So I think full calendar is free, and then the scheduler you have to pay for. Something like that. Anyway, so we're going to download this. I already downloaded, so I'm just going to import the files. Alright, so I'm copying across the files. The first thing I need is the full bundle calendar CSS. And then we need the the jQuery or JavaScript. So the bundle of JavaScript. Should that come before or after jQuery? I'm not sure. I'm just going to put everything after jQuery. Alright, so we need those two things for sure. So let me copy in the files. So our files are copied in. You see we have full calendar bundle JS here and full calendar bundle CSS. So that might be all that we need. So we're going to go ahead and see. First, we're going to create a calendar object. Let's actually define our calendar now. So we are going to say, and this is JavaScript. So you're going to say for calendar element is document get element or ID. So we just get in the calendar div, and we're gonna say if calendar That's spelled wrong. Calendar. The reason you're doing this is if you want to create it multiple times, it would rebuild. So if it exists, you're going to destroy it. Otherwise, let's get into actually building the calendar. So, I keep spelling the wrong thing. Calendar is equal to new full calendar. Calendar EL, passing the EL. And then we have our properties. So for events, this is where we pass in any events that we have. But we don't have any events. Then we have a plugins section, which says interaction. I might not go through all of this, but you could check out the documents to see what it all means. Time grid. Although it's kind of self-explanatory. Those are the plugins. In the header, so we could have left, and we might take on some of these previous, next, and today. Should not have a comma next to it. My example doesn't have it. Center is equal to title, and the right, if we have some buttons on the right. Day, grid, month. Time, grid, week, time, grid, day. Alright, so right now I have some other things, but I can ignore all of that. And then we say calendar, render. I'm going to try this out to see if it works. I'm not sure if it would work. Well, it works. So, yeah, we officially have our calendar. So we can kind of get started now into building what we want to build. So here's what we want. When we click on a date, we want a pop-up that allows us to add a goal, right? So any date that we click on, we want to be able to click on it and add a goal. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use another plugin, if you call it like that. It's called Magnifi Pop-Up. It's really cool. It might look like that, but often it will look like this. We're going to use something that looks like this. You can check out the site to download it. So that's what we're going to do. If you ever get started here, it has a GitHub page. So we're going into GitHub. Anyway, I already have the files. There's only a few files I need, and they're all located in the disk folder, I believe. So we're just going to use the min and the CSS. We're going to include those files in, and we're going to start building loading up our pop-up. So once we click, we want to see a pop-up. So I added my files here. We have Magnifi Pop-Up and jQuery Magnifi Pop-Up min.js. So we are now going to put that at the top of our, so we're going to put the CSS here, link, rel, style sheet, and href. Right, so that's the style sheet, and we're going to put the bundle below our jQuery Magnifi, right? So great. Now, in order to get what happens when we click on an event, the function that we need to use is called, or callback. I think it's defined as a callback. Anyway, it's called dateClick. dateClick. So what we're doing here is we're defining a callback for our calendar, and we're saying let's use a what do you call it, an alert clicked here. Also, we want to get the date string, so in order to do that, we could do info date string. Again, you can check your documents to see all of this. So let's check that out now. So this is a callback. See what we have here. So we will load the page, and once you click on it, we should see an alert. We're not seeing an alert, so let's see what's going on there. date click function. Yeah. So I'm still looking into what's going on. So that's my mistake, right? Confusing JavaScript with PHP. That should do it. And I know that for a fact. So once I reload the page, and we click, we should see exactly the date string that we clicked on, right? For the date that we clicked on. So this is great. So now we can do that whenever you click. Now we just want to show the pop-up. So to do that, let's create a function. Let's create a function called open pop-up, open or create goal. So this is going to load a modal to actually create the mode to create a goal, and we're going to test to see if Magnifi is working as well. Alright, so items, and we aren't actually finished. Source is equal to, so this will be the ID of the add goal modal, which we have not added as yet. So we are clearly skipping ahead. So I'm going to add this next. Right, so this will actually allow us to open, which is great. Open modal, create goal. But we're not going to use this as yet because we have to create a div. So let's create our div, what we called it before. This is our modal. Give it an ID of this, add goal modal, and we are going to keep it really simple. For now, let's just give it a header. A big header, almost kind of header. H2, add new, yes, a new goal. Let's just put it as a new goal. And this also needs a class, and we're going to give it a class of MFP hide. This allows you to, it allows it to like disappear. A white pop-up block is what gives us that really cool side. So MFP hide is what makes it to disappear, so you don't just see it showing up. And then white pop-up block is what gives us this really cool styling. So let me show you that. And I'm not doing this from the top of my head, right? So we have the background as white. We give it a padding of 20 px, top and right, 20 entity, text align left. I have just been using this whenever I need it. I no longer consider what it does. It seems to always work. Margin. But I think this is on the site as well. When you look at how they created their nice little white pop-up, that's exactly what they did. So I basically just copied this style in there. Anyway, let's try it out. I don't think I removed, right? So we don't want this anymore. We want this. So that's great. Let's click on it. So this is exactly what we want. So you're seeing add new goal showing up as soon as you click on it. So the only thing we need to do now is probably give it a default height, so we can do that quite easily. So let's I'm wondering if I did that. That's how I did it before. But it doesn't matter. So let's give it another div and give this a default height of, let's say, a max min height of 350. That might be enough because we just want to give it some body, if you could say it like that. So once you click on it, this is great. So it extends. If you take this out, it looks a little better, I think. So now it has a height of 350. And now we could put our form there. So now we can put our form here. So this form is what we're going to use to create our goal. So our goal must have a name. So we put the name of type as text. I'm going to keep things simple. So that's called goal. Next, the name must have a date to start. So this is when we're actually going to start with the goal. The type of this is going to be text. The name is going to be start date. Just details, I guess. So we could give it some details. Text. I prefer description. Just gonna leave that as description. And we want to add some notes maybe. Or maybe we want to add the status of the div. So this is where we put our select element and we put our options. So we say pending. The value of this is pending. Option in progress. Values in progress. Common letters, no space. And then we have option completed. Values same in the sense that common letters, no space. Alright, so that is finally we want a text area that says this is going to be our notes section. So if we have any additional notes, we will put it here. I believe culs is supposed to be column. This is going across. So culs is supposed to be kind of big, and rows could be kind of small. So we could put it like that and give it a name of notes. And finally, we need a submit button. Save goal. This is going to be our submit button. Type of this is going to be submit. And we can give it a name of save goal. So let's go into our calendar, see how we're doing. So this is actually pretty good. Good. So we want to put a page break here as well. And what we did before, we started to get a little creative with our styling. So I'm just going to do that here. We're going to put a little P element. We're going to give it a height of 30 px. We're going to say the background is dark blue. And I think you saw it in the example, the width is 100%. So this is like fantastic news for the creative team who has to sell this. Look at that. Looks good, right? So we're going to do it again for the bottom. Compared to my, usually I don't pay much attention to styling. But right, so we're doing the same to the bottom. The height is going to be a bit smaller. The background is going to be the same. Dark blue. The width is same, going to be 100%. Don't know if I need this at all, but we're putting it just to be clear. We're going to give a margin top just to make sure it has enough space, which makes it look good. So we added our styling. You can reload the page, so the div gets reloaded. Great. Now 350 seems kind of high, so we might actually decrease that. So let's put it probably to 250 and see how that looks. Reload the page again. And yeah, so that looks a lot better. So this is what we're actually going to do now. We have a date to start, a description, and notes, status, pending, and progress completed. So we can now actually add a goal. Well, we now have to add the logic to add a goal, which is getting into the server side of things. So let's get into the server side of things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our connection. So you know the drill. So have a get connection function. Alright, so I'm going to do something here. Function is Ajax request. Let's see, if not empty server HTTP. What do I have it there? X requested with and string to lower. So I'm typing this out, definitely, but I did not figure this out myself. I copied and paste this. So, you know, reader beware. So you can just Google the question how to confirm that you're making an HX request. As you can see, I did shit, but that's fine. Alright, so how to confirm that you're making an HX request? We should be good with on string to lower. Yeah, 1. Right. So I'm not sure if this works actually, because I did it manually. So I'm just going through. If not empty, server HTTP requested with, and string to lower server HTTP requested with XML HTTP request. So it just seems that we're checking for this. So this first one, making sure it's not empty, and the second one, make sure that this exists. And if you see that, we know we have an HX request, otherwise we return false. And why are we going to do that is because we're going to create a big if statement of all the AJAX requests we expect to have. Anyway, so we did that, right? So you could put a comment here. All my AJAX requests goes here. Anyway, so that was fun. So now we're going to save a goal, right? Do we need to do the database? You want to see the database? 1 second. So this is the database, and let's just go to a center create so you can see the create. Right, so this is what you'll be using to create a table with. You can name it whatever you want, but I name it NYR, which stands for New York Resolution. New Year's resolution. So we have an ID, we have a name, a description, a start date, a status, and details. Details is notes. I'm probably going to change this to notes, although I would have to change the entire database. Man. Alright, so I'm going to actually create a new table. We're going to call it goal tracker, and we're going to put it how we want it. So status and then notes, and description remains the same. So yeah, for the first time I've actually created the database live for you to see. Alright, so we now have a database, and let's actually now go into creating our function save goal. And what does our function take? It takes in a name. That's the name of the goal. It takes in a start time. That's the start date. It takes in the status, whether it's pending or not. It takes in a description. Then it takes in a status. Then it takes in any additional notes. And it would take in an ID eventually when we're doing the update. But we're not doing the update right now. Alright, so the SQL for this is insert into, can't remember the table name, double check, we called it goal tracker. Goal tracker. Right. So we have our, let's double back. Name, description, start date, status note. Great. So it's more or less the same. So insert into name, start date, description. I guess the order doesn't matter. Status. And finally notes. And we say values equal to placeholder, 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 placeholder. Say that 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5 though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so great. So that's our SQL. So the only thing we need to do now is prepare it and execute it. So we're getting ready with our query. So this is our query. And we say con.prepare, pass in our SQL, and then we say query.execute. And we say name start. I think we call it start date. Then we have our description next. Then we have our status. And finally we have our notes. And then we need to return the last inserted ID because we might need that. Maybe, maybe not, maybe. Alright, so that should be our save notes, save goal function there. So the only thing we need to do now is check to see when we get in it. So for all our Ajax requests, we're going to add an action, and that action is going to be called the action is going to vary anyway, but this time it's going to be called save goal. Alright, so let's add another comment, saving our goals, and we're going to get everything we need. So we're going to get the name. You know how we do this. I think I named it goal just to confuse myself. Alright, so let's put it like that. And the next thing is going to be the date. Actually, let's do like that. So goal date is equal to, I believe we call it start date. You could spend more time trying to normalize the names if that's a thing to lessen the mistakes you make. It might be helpful. So we just add in description here, assuming I'm spelling everything correctly and we have no errors. Alright, goal status. I'm not sure I gave status a name though, so I'm going to go back to do that literally now. So right now in the save, I'm going back to our template. Alright, what comes after status? Goal notes. So you're just going to confirm that the goal exists, if goal, and goal date. I guess what we need a description, we need notes, we just need the goal and the goal date. Save goal. What we need next, description. What comes next? Status. And then notes. I don't think we need the ID at all, but just in case that we do, we have it there. We could echo back the ID if we wanted to, or we could do something else. It's totally up to us. But yeah, so that is our Ajax request, and now we're going to give this form an ID, save goal, form, and now we're going to get into some serious jQuery. So what we need to do is when the form submits, we want to capture that action, prevent it from submitting in the normal submit, and tell it to do its submission the way we want it to submit. So we say in unsubmit, don't do what you usually do. No. We're gonna do what we want you to do. So that's what's going on here. We want to get the data. So this allows us to get the data from the form, all except form files. So you get everything except file information. To do file information, you have to do something different. Alright, so this is within this function. So we're going to create a function here called save goal. I'm going to pass in the data. And save goal is going to be check-in. It's going to be a post server.php. We must pass an action. The action is called save goal. Passing in the data that we get from the form. And this is the response. So we can echo the response. No, this is JavaScript. We could log out the response to make sure it's working. We could do save goal here, passing the data. And finally what we could do is we could close our pop-up. Alright, so let's check all this out. We might get it working on the first try, which is fine. My first goal, give it a date, 2020. Let's put this to 12. Description, my first goal, and save it. So let's check the database for it, because it's not going to show up here as yet. So let's check the database for it. It's also not showing up in the database. So what we could do is we could because I'm doing this now, I really should just check these things before. This hero attempt. So we press save goal. Do we get any headers? First goal start date. My first goal status pending. No response though. So we're gonna do two things. We're making sure that we pass in an action save goal. Save goal. So we know that should be working. And we're just gonna make sure that our start date, description, and status is fine. So we go into our form, we have to make sure our start date, description, status, all these things are fine. So in theory it should work. Goal date, goal description, goal notes, start date, goal description, goal status, goal notes. Insert into goal tracker, name, start date, description. So you're just going through everything again. I'm doing it live, which must be annoying for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Name, start date, description, status, notes. Okay, so everything seems to be working here. So I'm not sure what's going on, so I'm going to look into that. Now it's possible. I don't think this is the problem because I didn't put a post there. It shouldn't matter with it. But let's see. Because it's just capturing submit, so it probably would submit based on the method still. Again, if I say I doubt that, I'll just be showing how much I don't know, right? That's fine. So we're gonna see if that actually creates a problem. If that's not the problem, I might just cut all of this out. So if you do this wrong, you screen yourself, right? So that is probably our error. Probably. We still don't know if post matters. Anyway, we should have found our error there. Saying undefined index save goal. Undefined index save goal. Get save goal. Oh, yeah. I'm screwing the pooch a lot. So actually, what we're actually gonna, so we have to make sure to have an action. And then you have to say if action is equal to save goal. So save goal, right? So I screwed the pooch. Oops. That's fine. Alright, so we know we're getting somewhere. After numerous setbacks, we can probably say this would actually work. And we can check the database to confirm that yes, it's working. So this is great. This is fantastic. So you're going to create a function called getEvents. This getEvents function is going to allow us to get all the goals that we need from the database. We're going to pass that information to the calendar. And the calendar is going to display those events. So I'm going to copy and paste this. What we're doing here is our basic get goals query. Select star, so we're getting everything from the database. Basically, that's what we're doing here. Whatever the database name is, in this case, its name is goal tracker. So we're getting everything from it. So now we can say goals is equal to get goals. And for each goal, as goal. Alright, so this is the actual events array that we're going to use. And now we're going to add to it. So each array is going to be a list of goals. It's going to contain a list of goals. So title. So the question might be why we're doing it like this. I believe that's how the events need them. So some of these are specific to what calendar is actually looking for. So I think title is definitely one. Calendar definitely looks for title. It kinda or doesn't really look for description. It definitely looks for start. So that's like a requirement. It also looks for ID. At least you can access ID directly if you put it here. And the rest of them is just extras, but we put in them anyway. Right? I think this is it. And what we could do next is we can return this data as encoded. So here we can say, I'm going to copy this. So this is going to be called get events, right? Because we're getting the events, which is all the goals. as we're going to be doing. Man, I just skipped a lot of time. Right, so get events. What are we doing here? So we need to do two things because we echoing JSON, we're gonna change the content type to JSON. Google, if you don't understand, because I don't understand. So that our browser knows to expect JSON, right? Something like that. And that should do it. I'm double checking to make sure we have everything that we need. Yeah. So that should do it. Get events. So on our calendar side, we actually now have to create a function called get events, which is interesting. Or is it? Because that function, we're going to call that function load calendar. Well, not like that. Let's check what we're going to do, right? We're going to put load calendar. Everything was loading with the calendar, we're going to put it in that, inside that function, and just we're going to pass any data. And then what we could see is we could create another function called function get events, and that is actually going to do what we want it to do, which is pull from the server. Okay, we get it, doesn't have to be post. You could pull from the server all our events, and the data received are going to be called events. We could test it to see, so we could put it in the console, but load calendar and we pass in our events. So this might actually work without me trying anything additional. So it also might just give a big error. The error is because we didn't really call it, right? So at the end of this, we're going to call get events. So this is going to get events and load calendar. So let's reload the page. See, our event should be showing up there, and we have my first goal. So this is great. This is really, really great. When we add a goal, we want to be able to refresh the calendar. So that means every time we add a goal, we should call get events, because that's going to refresh the calendar. That's going to give us the kind of results that we want. So if you wanted to add a second goal, I don't know what day that is. Let's put it as a tail. Why is it? Man. Stupid thing. Give it no description and just save it. So it should show up. It isn't, but it should show up. I wonder why that is. Maybe we didn't reload the page. So let's add another goal. Well, let's confirm that we actually did the way you're supposed to do it. So get events, load calendar, calendar destroy. I keep spelling calendar wrong. That's not good. So let's dig into that. Sometimes when it does that, it renders the another calendar below. My third goal. I'm going to put this to the 4th. we're just gonna save it so it shows up, right? So this is great. So the next thing we need to do, you notice when we click to add a goal that nothing shows up in our date started. So we want to change that. We want to put the calendar here. So we're going to try using a date picker from jQuery UI. I'm just going to copy and paste the script and I hope that works. That would be great for me. It would enable my, so we put the jQuery there. I think we need a CSS as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to copy this across. I think what we need also is some font. And I'm hoping I get away with not using that. Anyway, so for date to start, we could give it an ID of start date, which is SD. And we can assign, we probably could assign a class to it, but let's just it's the only thing we need, right? It's the only thing we need. So let's just date picker this guy. That might be all we need to do, if we're lucky. Some of it won't work, but it's not giving an error. So it works, right? You just need to change the format and remove autocomplete because that is messing with stuff. So we have our format thing here. So it's just an option. So we are going to do that. So in date picker, we're going to put in our format. So it says date, month, year. We want it year, month, date. So let's try that. And we reload our page. And we can go to the 25th, the 26th, the 7th. So that is fantastic. Finally, when we click, remember you can get the info date string. And remember we now have an ID. We assign it SD. So we can set it the value, right? So every time we click on it, we can set the value to the info date string. So what that basically does, that's its start date. Once we click on any calendar date, it will go to the date that we selected. So if you click on 9, it should go to 9. And start from 9. You could always change it, but it would start where we want it. So in theory, we'll never really have to click it because we're just going to click on the calendar. And then you can see my goal to create a goal. And we save it. And we see it shows up there. Create another one here. So while we are here, you notice that we need to do something very important. We need to reset our form. Otherwise, it keeps showing us information we don't want. So let's do that now. In our form, so let's load up our form. And once we save information, so we have a save goal, we get the events, and then we need to reset. So we're going to say, we could say this, right? Because this is the form. I'm going to say trigger reset. So that should help us out. So anytime we need to add multiple events, it won't remain learn piano. That tends to be a goal. Alright, so the form should reset. Learn guitar. And the form should reset, so it should show up. Right, so we can add events, the form resets. So next thing we're going to do is we want to be able to click on an event and see the details of that event. So we're going to add a new div, right? So we had a div here called add go motor. We're going to have one called show, I guess. We could call it show go modal. We're going to give it the same class. H3 show modal, and we're going to call this when we click on an event. So we're going to go back to our calendar, and we're going to add a callback called event clicked, or just event click. I'm going to pass it in for as usual. I'm just going to save, open, save go, so function show goal, right? Show goal. And we're gonna create we need a one is called create. Yeah, sure, should be fine. So you know what we're doing, right? We're just adding it to the Magnifi Pop-Up. Alright, so we're gonna call show goal, and eventually we're gonna do more than that. But for now, we're just calling a function called show goal, and that should be it. So once we click on an event, we should see show modal. It should actually say show goal. But this is great. We probably want to put this as a H2. We also want to give it a div. We also want to give it special styling. We want to give it a min height of 350 because I think this would be good for showing it. And we want to give it a special styling. This time we're going to make it into orange as we did previously in the example, right? I'm going to check now to see what it actually was. It should be dark orange. I have dark blue, and I just have a color orange red. I have orange red, so let's go with that. I'm going to copy across the last one. That's the same thing, right? So height 5, background orange red with 100 mit 10 px. Alright, so we're just going to look at that to see what we just did. When we click on it, we should see show goal. 350 still seems kind of big, so I'm going to put it back down to 250. And within this is where we're actually going to show our details. So I'm going to create a template here. This is my goal. I'm going to add a description. This is my goal description. Maybe we could. Right now we're just checking out the template. So we're just making sure it looks good. Maybe you want to put the date here. Where you want to put the date? We could put the date as a big, we probably could put the date here. So you could say like Tuesday, 25th December, 2020. And we probably could make that bold if it looks good already. So I'm just looking to see. So do you like it? Maybe I put it on top. So I have two H1s. Two H3s. This is my goal. So I didn't do the other one like this, but I'm giving it a little change. As I can see, this is taking some time. I'm good with this actually. So we have the goal on top here, the goal date, we have the goal, we have the description. And now we just need to put, what else do we need? The status, the comments. I think stick there for a second. So we can put the status and we can put the notes. So let's create a section for our notes. Let's do that now. So our notes is going to be a normal P, but it's going to have a style. It's going to have a padding of like 20, 10. It's going to have a background, a gray background. The text color is going to be white. I think it does this automatically. And we could put some random information here. Test. Just copy it across. Alright. Here we're just testing out our UI. We want it to look somewhat presentable. So it looks good. The color doesn't look that good. The white is hard to read, which means the background should be darker. There's a really dark gray that I love. I think this might be it. So let's try that. You probably could give it a border radius of 3px. That softens it a bit. Alright, so we definitely do not like that with certainty. So we want a dark gray, but not a dark gray. CD. So 3 might be good. This might be good. I could always use what I had before. I think I just had 3 C's before. But no, I think I'm good with this. I'm going to give it a height. I'm going to give it a height of, let's say, 30. I had a min height of 100 before, so I'm going to stick with that. So yeah, so we could put our notes here. So show goal. So we could probably remove this to showing goal. Or we could put the date on top here. So let's see. Let's see. Again, we're just playing around to see what works the best. I'm not the best. Oh yeah, I'm not the best stylist. Alright, so I think I'm happy with this. So we have that there. We just need to add some links. So let's do that now. On the description, we're gonna add a link called what are the links called? So we remind me. So we have remind me, and when we just added some links to remind me. So we have like one day, you can remind me in a day, or you can remind me in a year. So 1 day, 1 week, 1 year. So I'm just going to see how that looks. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Alright, so I'm just reloading the page. We're not going to be dealing with that as yet. But again, I just want to get a feel for it. Great. Alright, so this is great. The final actions we're going to have is to change it to in progress or out of progress, if you could say something like that. So I'm going to copy the same thing. We're going to do this at the end, and we're going to say update progress. And the status is as follows: pending, in progress, and what is this? Completed. Alright. Finally, we're just going to look at this. So we like this. We like what we're seeing here. So we're going to go with this. If we was using Font Awesome, we'd add some awesome icons on top here to make it look good. But we're not using Font Awesome, so let's not get excited. So yeah. Oh, we have one more. We want to be able to delete this, remove this event. I think I would like to put this in a styling. So I'm going to give it a padding of 20. or 15px, and we want to give it a color, a background color of probably red, or maybe dark red. Orange red might be good as well. I'm just going to see how this looks. I might be getting ahead of myself. All this styling, I like, but don't love. So the red could be softer, definitely. Could we do like light red? The red could definitely be softer. The font weight could be bold. I think it could remain in the color if we soften it, and we want to also decrease the padding. We could center the text too, but that might be overdoing it. So I think a softer color might give me what I want. Yeah. Remove this event. We want to put a question mark. Click to delete. Can you see that? Let me bring it across. Alright. So finally we have click to delete. So once you click on this, you'll have a confirmation dialog, of course. But this is our viewing of the goal. So what we need to do now is we need to add IDs to all of these things, because we're going to update them, well, for the relevant ones. So first, for the date, I'm going to call it goal date as the name of the ID, and ID for this is goal title, and we have goal description. And then we have, I don't have anything for status. I don't know if I need something for status. I'm gonna look at it again to see if anything here should tell. Probably could float something to the right. So let's see if we could do that. Pending. If you float it to the right, I just want to see how it'll look. And then I'll decide when I'll put something for the status. So I prefer it to be up here. I don't like where it is here at all. Probably can leave it like that. If you were to give it a margin right, margin left, margin right, 3px, you give it a padding of 5, a background of dark red. You probably could change the background based on whether it's pending or completed. I think I'm going to remove this. Pending. Alright, so for now we're going to leave it. We're going to give it a color of white. But if I don't like it, if I run out of time, I'm going to remove it because we really don't need it. We have a lot of other things to do, and that is in priority. What we're actually going to do is change the color of this. So we actually don't need to put the status here, but we'll get to that. So that would be the last thing we do if we do it at all. But I do like it though. I like what we have there. So this is the notes. So goal notes. Right. And now we're going to go to the server. I'm going to create a function called get one goal. Get one goal. I'm just going to copy the code for that. And then function get event. So those two things are linked. So get one goal. I'm going to copy the code for that because we have been doing it for ages. So you should know what it looks like. You don't have to do it like this. You could always change up how you do it. But basically, select from whatever our table name is, goal tracker. Where ID is equal to that, so forth, right. So for get event, we have to pass in an ID of an event that we want to get, and we could get the specific goal. We say get one goal, passing the ID Let me say event. We don't need to do this actually. What we do need to do is we need to return if I'm doing this right, double checking. Hey, get resolution. I think I did all of this within the function get one goal. Yeah. So we're just going to return the data. So we're going to use the same format, except that we're going to make some changes. So we have the start date there, and we might need that, but we want a formatted start date, or we want a start date. Let's call it formatted, or date formatted. So we're going to call it date formatted, and we're actually going to format the date here. So the actual date is going to be LJS. You could look for this in PHP date format stuff. What we're going to do is convert it to a string that is readable. So remember how we have the dates, right? Like this, but we're going to format this, so it will look kind of like this, or exactly like this. So we'll test it and see. So that's date formatted. Next thing we need to change is, we don't need to change anything else. We do need to change something else. We don't have notes, so let's get to notes. And finally, we need notes formatted. Notes formatted. And again, what this does is converts any spaces to page breaks, so that allows it to show properly in HTML, but in a normal element we just want line breaks. I'll explain that probably some more. Anyway, we're going down to here. We're going to say get event. We're going to put the content type to JSON. We're going to echo get event. I'm going to pass in the ID, which we now need to get. So we need to get the ID. We could say if ID, and this is just what we really do focus on is error handling, because it's somewhat advanced, although a lot of the things we do are pretty advanced, or at least well thought out. But yeah, at some point you're gonna have to take error handling very, very seriously. Anyway, so yeah, so we should be able to get the event there. And so once we click on show goal, what we actually want to do is get an event and then show. So we could do it all inside here actually, you know. So we could say get server.php action for get event. We pass in the ID. Oops, where we get the ID from? That's a good question. Someone is paying attention. And then we can get the event here. We passing it in using JSON encode. So after we do, then we open the modal. So what we're going to do here is, so goal title, goal description, stuff like that. We're just going to set that, right? So we have goal title. We're going to set the text to the event title. Goal description. We're going to set the text to the event description. Goal date. We're going to set the text to format event formatted, date formatted. And that's how I had it, because it had I'm confusing myself. Date formatted, notes formatted, date formatted. For notes, what we want, cool notes, we want to set it to HTML, and we're going to say notes formatted, because this is the HTML ready version of notes. And then after we so we can add get assign event to elements. We could say get event from server, right? So all of this is good so far, minus the spelling errors. You might actually have something going here. Oh, so one thing we're forgetting is the ID. Current event is equal to null. Alright, so check this. Once we click on no, I don't need to do it like that. 1 second. Show goal. So what I could do here, I think I could just pass an ID. Now, if you remember, so that you don't get confused, we gave the event ID first. So we are just passing in the ID that we received from the event. This is wrong. That's better. So, going back to the server, when we say get events, we pass in the ID. So we just taking that ID and passing it into show goal. So this would actually be ID. So what we was doing above with active current event, yeah, we get to that. We're jumping ahead. So let's see if this works. This is me doing, yeah, I didn't expect it to work. Actually, it could be because networking. So we're not passing back anything, but we're getting get event. So let's just check out our server. I think it's a really stupid error. Post. I have get. Alright. I was debating whether or not I should change it to post. But I guess leaving it like that is harmless. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to encode it. Get events. So let's do it like that. So in get event, we're going to actually encode it here. So that what we're returning is a JSON array. My first goal. My second goal. 3rd of December. Friday, 4th of December. Does this not look good? Then get a. Let's go add some stuff in the notes. I have a lot of I need to learn the first goal. So we just added some notes there. So we're going to reload the page, although that probably doesn't matter. I need to learn the first goal. So this is really great. Again, we'll deal with pending at some point in time. It's not important right now. So yeah, we are almost there. So one of the things I forgot to put was an edit button. So I think I'm going to put that underneath the goal description. So I'm just gonna put, well, yeah, underneath the description. So it's just gonna be edit me href. So I don't think this is gonna look like it should be there, but I need it because that's what we're gonna do now. We're actually gonna edit. I'm not a fan of it. I would like to fold it, float it if possible. I'm not a fan of it at all, but I think I'm gonna leave it just like that. So we have an edit button, so you could edit it if you wanted to. Maybe you could change the font size to be a bit smaller. It's so there, it's so in your face. Yeah, that's better. So yeah, it's smaller, but you can see it. So once you click on it, we want to actually go to the edit screen. So let's try that out now. So this is going to be edit, go, action. Okay, we call it that. Alright, so when we editing goals, unclick. What we want to do first is we want to close any pop-ups that open, and then open our own pop-up. So you close any pop-ups that open, and then we're going to open our own pop-up, which is actually the create goal pop-up, except that this time we're going to add some information to it. So let's put some comments, and that's pretty cool. Close any open pop-ups. Open our pop-up. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we actually want to do what we did before. So remember in get events, get event or show goal, we get a specific event. So you want to do something similar to that. So yeah, check that out. That's great, right? So we can get the event. We want back our pop-up because we just removed it, or we could just change the ID. So let's do that. Change the ID. Great. Great. So this is where this comes into play. So current event is actually going to be the ID. I'll show you how we assign current event shortly. But yeah. So once we get the event, all we need to do is assign it. And how we'll be assigning it, we'll be saying, so we know the form ID, right? We know save goal form, and then we just assign input. So input name is equal to something, and then we assign the value. So that's what we're going to be doing. So the first input is goal. So this is going to be event title. So we're gonna test to see if this works, but first we must assign a current event, and to do that, once you click on an event, you're gonna assign it to as a current event, because that's what's currently being clicked, right? So you know that you're on that you're on that event. All right, so you're currently on this event. My first goal, my second goal, my second goal. So it works. It seems to work without any issues at all. So let's continue. The second thing we want to update is the description, maybe. So I have it as description. My computer's sticking here, but alright. Title description. Is it goal description or just description? I think it's just description. We confirm. So description and then start date. Alright, so the value for start date is also the same. Date, start, or just start. That should be fine. So yeah, we're making some progress. We're gonna reload the page and we're gonna see if once we press edit we get to those things. Right? So we just have status and notes to do. Notes is a text area. So we're going to change it to text area. But the name remains the same. While the name selector remains the same. And the value remains the same. Notes. Right? This time we don't want the formatted notes. We just want pure notes with all our page breaks and stuff. Our line spaces. And then finally, for select, I believe we pass in the status as well. So yeah. So we could probably paste that, but we actually doing select. The name is status. And the value is status as well. So that is everything. Almost everything. So click on edit me. You're gonna have to fix that. You see a problem already. So the last thing we need to do is we need to know that this is a current event, and in order to do that we want to put a hidden input in our form. Well, well, we don't do it like that. What do you think? We could put a hidden input in our form and always update it. But what I want to do is, yeah, that's actually a good way to go, because we're not going to change this at all. But we could. So right now I'm trying to think out loud, deciding how we're gonna do this. So we're gonna do the way we did it before, although it might not be the ideal way. We're gonna put an input of type hidden. The name of this is gonna be ID, right? Yeah, I don't like this solution, but it works. So the name is ID and the val is ID. Alright, you could use current event as well. So basically this tells us that as long as we have an ID, we should do something. This also means we have to remove ID when we close the form. I don't like that. Well, it should reset when we set everything, right? So, thinking out loud. Alright, so we're going into it. We also want to get ID now. So, pass an ID. We pass an ID here as well. And we're saying in save goal, if we have ID, we do something special, otherwise we continue as normal. You know this drill, and I am going to copy and paste it. I'm going to paste it. So, 1 second. Alright, so I added in our code. So we have update goal tracker, set name, start date, status, description, details. There should actually be notes. And right, so this should work fine. I'm gonna have to double check, but it should work fine. So let's actually just see how it actually works. We're gonna test it in real life. We're gonna catch any errors going forward. So we're gonna change my first goals to my first goals. Any errors we have that going forward, my first goals. Status change to pending. That's interesting. Start date status. Start date description and then status. Alright, so that might fix that. So our description is my first goals. We could actually change our description status here to probably in progress. And we could see it show up there. We could check in the database to see if it was changed to in progress. Yeah, that's correct. So let's I need to learn a second goal. Just gonna save this, see how it shows up here. So we know that it's updating. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so it might be working fine. Let's try to add one. Actually, let's do that. Another goal. I'm just gonna copy and paste that. Actually, we're gonna test it right now. What happens is the input doesn't change from being empty. So I know that for a fact. You can see the input value here is still 1, so that cannot be, which is the problem with the way we did it, because reset doesn't clear the input. So if we want, we could clear the input ourselves and just set it to this, and that would take care of that, right? But it's not ideal. That's all I'm saying. It's not the way I would do it if I were to sit down and think about it properly. Alright, so basically what should happen here is that this should be new, but because I was setting the ID, because I didn't clear the ID, this would change to this, but it works fine now. I didn't get to show you that error. Let me show you the error so you don't get confused. You think I'm confusing myself. So basically, without putting that, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to edit learn guitar, and I'm going to change it to learn guitars, and I'm going to save it, and that's fine. And now learn guitars duplicate, and I'm gonna save this, put this at the description, save it. And as you can see, what was here came across here, and that's because we didn't clear the ID. So instead of saving a new one, it just updates. So that's exactly what we don't want. So we want it to be pure and cleared. Learn guitar, right? Guitar. Oops. Right. Oh my. Alright, so this is great. The next thing I want to focus on is what happens when we press edit, but we don't press save go. And we can put a cancel button, but that won't always give us what we want. So because the difference between edit and add new goal is, because there's a difference between them, what we could do is when we go and add new goal, we can reset everything. So in open modal, in create goal, because again, so for edit, right, we are using our own modal here. So when we create him, we can see so this is pretty easy to do. But again, what usually happens is that I would use create goal function multiple times, and so I'll have to add some logic to deal with this. But because I didn't do it like that here, all I should be able to do is this should literally be it. Although it's resetting, I don't like that. That's not good, because it's resetting our little function here. That's not good at all. So let's current date. So that's one way to get around. So there are lots of ways to do it, right? So it's really up to you. So I'm going to refresh it, and then I'm going to assign it to the current date. And yeah. So now it should work the way it's supposed to work, and we won't get this error. So I press edit, and I'm saying add new goal, which is basically an update, but I don't do anything to it, and then I press right. So it shouldn't show the data, shouldn't show back up here. It should be cleared, even though I didn't press cancel and I didn't save it. I don't want to see the data again. So just make sure it works. So it works, right? So yeah. So that is also good. So the next thing we're going to focus on, we're probably going to focus on these actions. So we're going to say, we're going to do pending first, then we're going to do remind me, and then probably we could do delete. Then we might come back to this. Oh, well, we're going to focus on something cool first. We're going to change these colors based on whether it is in progress or completed. So we're going to do that next. There's actually this cool feature where I click on this and I edit thing appears. So I'm actually going to do that now. I totally forgot about it. So in order to do that, we need to add a click on goal notes. So let's do that. Shouldn't be too hard to do. And click right. So we're going to take action on this. And what we want, right, is we want to add a text area. It's a special type of text area. Remember, calls is big. So 55, rows is small. Alright, so this is a text area. The idea of this is goal notes edit. And goal notes input, yeah. So we're gonna have a div, and this is gonna manage that. So we're gonna have a text area, and we're gonna have a button called save notes, and we're just gonna have an ID called save notes. So that's gonna save our notes. This is gonna be hidden by default. Display is equal to none, and then we're gonna give this an ID of notes save notes layout. Right, so basically what we're going to do is toggle this, that's all. So once you click on goal notes, we want to see save notes layout. We want to show this, and we actually want to hide the div itself. So let's check that out now. So we're going to click on it. Right, so that's great. That's exactly what we want. We want to put a page break here. And once you press save notes, we want to actually be able to go back into it. So we're going to press save notes. Hopefully we're not reusing something that we did before. So once you press save notes, you want to show cool notes again, but you actually want to hide. Of course, this is after we actually want to hide this. That's after we do any request that we have to make, but I'll get into that. So this is actually what we want. Once you press save notes, it will show back up. This should work for ones that we have notes. Oh, what we really need to do is we need to show the text needs to come here. But that's pretty straightforward. How we doing that is once we click on it, we are going to, so where we would usually view. So this is the ID, right? Goal notes input. And we usually click on it to view it, show goal. So we're actually just going to set the data there one time. It's going to be, I guess it's going to be text. It's going to be events notes, not formatted, right? So that anytime you click on it, we already have the notes loaded in. So that once you click on it, we can see it. Once you press notes, we see it come back. This is great. This is exactly the effect we want. And all we need to do now is manage the request and probably add a cancel button, but we'll get into that. Alright, so now we're going to deal with saving those requests. And we're coming up to 2 hours, so we're going to do this quickly as possible. We're going to say, we're going to save notes, right? So save notes, as quickly as possible. I don't know if that's possible. We need to get the notes as well. So I'm going to copy and paste that. We need to get the notes. We need to get our connection, and then we will copy and paste everything just for expediency. I'll explain connection, get connection. We need to change the database to what it's supposed to be. Goal tracker. We're going to change this to notes. Connection, query, this is fine. And what we're doing is returning the correct notes so that we can use it. This is weird. Okay, no, this is fine. So now in our request, when we actually press a certain button, this button is going to be called Save Notes. I guess it's post server.php action save notes. We need to get the notes. So we need to pass one the ID, which is called active event, current event, and then notes, which is notes, and then we get the response, right? And then we show the notes also text. We should be able to do something like this, right? So let's see if we are getting that. What we need to get is notes, and to get that we have to get that from the input. So yeah, let's see if are we making millions? Test 1, 2, 3, 4. So I don't know if it's working at all. So let's check this out and see in the database. As you can see, it's not working at all. Wonder why. Save notes. How could it not be working? So let's check our request. It looks good though. It seems to work as it should. Test. That's very interesting. Well, it certainly is receiving the information. That's fascinating. But it doesn't seem to be update culture set where ID is equal to. Well, when I that's fascinating. Alright, we are about to pause because we're going to go into some error checking. So I think this will be post as well. I guess that's how I choose to do it. So, given that, let's double check. We probably don't need to reload the page because we changed the server. So we don't need to reload anything. And go to the database. We make sure we get test. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Test 2. Hey yo. Well, that's wrong. That is wrong. That is extremely wrong. Change it to HTML, right? We are testing. Alright, so you also need to buy the book. You save those notes. Hey yo. Need to save the book. Whatever that means. Right. So that's only 2nd of December. My first goal. Alright, so we are officially saving notes now. So that's great. Next step is we're gonna do remind me, update progress, click to delete, and then we're actually gonna finish. I really won't have time to get into this. Because we can have our template, let's deal with the rest now. So we're gonna deal with updating the progress right now. So we're gonna copy and paste this because it's kind of the same thing, except we just need to echo good. We don't need this. I'm gonna call this update progress. We're just gonna get the okay. We need the niche status. Alright, so that's it there. So right now we're updating the status, and we already have the query for it. Now we just need to add the logic behind it. So we're gonna add a class, wait for it to unstick, right? We're gonna add a class, and we're gonna add a data ID. So the data ID is what the actual value is gonna be. This is gonna kind of work like a select, and we could use it like a select. But sometimes you want to get a little creative. I'm going to call this change progress. We're just going to call it CP for short. Change progress. So yes, this works almost exactly like a select, with less work on your part. But it looks better, right? Alright, so on CP, on click, what we want to get is the progress. So our progress PG, go to this. We're going to use attribute attr data ID. So this is giving us the current progress, and then we're just going to post to the server, and we're going to call the specific action, which is update progress. We're going to pass in the ID, which is current event, and we're going to pass in the status, which is which is PG, and we're going to get the response. If it's good, we know we're good to go. If it's good, we could reload the page. If it's good, we could reload the page. And how do we reload the page? I think we call it get events function. You're gonna see what difference it's gonna make shortly. Alright, so we need to confirm that the network is working. We need to confirm that our request is being sent. So that's why we have our network tab open. Change to pending. Now it should be saying in progress. So we could look in the database. Any in progress here? 2nd of December. I change it to completed. See if it changes to completed. Yeah, so we know that this is changing, right? And now I wanted to do it a little differently, but no. So here's what we're going to do, right? We can, using the events, change the background color. So that's what we're going to do here. So remember, and we have something called get events, where we get all the events. We can change the background and border colors. So we can give it a border color, and we can give it a background color. It's pretty cool, right? It is pretty cool. So that's what we're doing here. We set on a border color and a background color, and the background color is going to vary based on get event color function, and that's going to vary based on the status. So for pending, we wanna put pending as, I think blue is good. In progress, we want to put it as dark yellow, if we could do that, or orange. And for completed, it's going to be dark green. Alright, otherwise we just have some other color. So this is great. We're going to reload the page, and now things are going to look really colorful. And if we want to put this in progress, for example, now it should reload. So I'm not sure what's going on there. We have an error. That's great. So I don't think get events is working as it should. Or maybe you have some kind of issues there. We have to look into that, because basically pending should change the color function status preview. Oh, so you're doing some strippiness here. I knew it. Just making sure this is working as it should. Alright, so we have a piece of strippiness here, so let's fix this immediately. Alright, so this is correct. Alright, so that should fix that piece of strippiness. That probably explains some of the errors you were getting. So if we put this to in progress, that should update the background. So now we could see our goals that are in progress. They change. We could also change them to being pending. So they go back to blue, and then we can send them as being completed. So that is great. So we could change that in the background. And we want to do the same thing for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. So we're going to do the same thing for remind me. So that's going to change the color. Well, it's not going to change the color. It's going to shift it to 1 week in the future, etc. All right. So to do the remind me, what we have to do now is pretty simple. We're doing the same thing as before. So in our calendar, we have to remind me. We could call this class RM remind me, and we could give it a data ID based on what we want it to say. So a day, etc, etc, etc. So we're gonna put the rest for this. So a day, a week, a month, and a year. And then we're gonna have a class for RM. Hopefully you don't make this stupid mistake like we did before. So RM on click, call a function, and this function is going to say range or next date, or just next is equal to this. We want to get the attribute data.id, and we're going to post it to the server. We're going to say server.php action is equal to next date, and then we're going to pass in our values. So next is going to be called next. Finally, we're going to get function res. And finally, we're going to get function res. We're going to say if res is equal to good, reload our calendar or get all the events. Now we need to create something for next date. So you're going to create similar to how we did this. Going to say next date. We're going to get the next date. Call it next. Alright, so we're not doing connections yet. We're going to see we actually need to get the goal. Why? Because we need to get the current date. So the current date is equal to goal start, and the next date is going to be null, and then we're going to use a statement, and we're going to say if next is equal to day. So in that case, next date is equal to date y m. So we're going to convert. We're going to use string to time to jump the date into the future by +1 and then a day based on what it is. So I'm going to do this for the rest. So if it's day, if it's week, we jump it to the future 1 week. That's if next is equal to month. Jump it to 1 month in the future. Else if next equal to year. Jump it to 1 year in the future. And then we're going to update we're gonna update start date, right? Start date, and we're gonna update it using next date, and then we're just gonna echo good. So ideally we should have some error checking for this, but this is more or less what we're gonna do, and we're just gonna confirm to see if it works. So yeah, let's get into it. So 1 day from today, I don't know if that works. I can't tell if it worked or not because I didn't pay attention. So that's what we seen an error. Calendar, the server responded status for server.php. So we spelled that wrong, server and not server.php. CRVER. Alright, so at least we know what the error there was. So let's go into network now. So we just want to make sure we see the information for the request. Let me say 1 day. Do we have any errors? Next day, preview, undefined start. That's good, that's good. Undefined start. So I say get 1 goal. And it's actually supposed to be start date, right? That's to get the current date. So let's run that again. We keep the network up. We just deal with this. Although we see we get something here, right? But that's not what we want at all, because we just said 1 day. So we're just gonna ignore that because that's clearly an error. So we're seeing good there. So it should have shifted 1, but I cannot tell. So it was on the Friday. Well, I don't know where it was before, but right now it's on the Friday. So it should go to the Saturday. Yeah. So we just shifted 1 day, right? So we say remind me in 1 day. Or we could say, if we wanted to learn the getter, we say this is still pending, and we want to be reminded 1 month. It should shift us to 1 month. So next year we should see learn getter. So learn the piano, let's shift this to 1 month. And we would have this reminder showing us up in 1 month. We know that we need to learn the piano, and then we could update it. We could download some music sheets from our website, so we could keep track of any changes that we're making, and then download some music sheets from our website. And then we say, all right, next month we'll deal with that next month. So it actually takes us back to the current month, but so the next month is February, and we see it came up and we realized maybe we didn't do anything, so we update the notes again. So the only thing we need to do now is delete, and delete is more of the same. All I have to do is click on this and then send a request to delete it. So I'm just gonna create the function for it, so you can get a hang of it. Well, you can see what I'm gonna do. So this is the function. Goal tracker, right? You could add in our, right? So remove goal, you know the drill. Delete from goal tracker. And then once you do this, you refresh the page, and your page would be refreshed, and you would have deleted the event. So this is it. And this is it. Yeah, this is it. So you could keep adding, you could keep changing your goals, keep updating your goals, add more goals for the new year. Say January 4th, play the flute. That's not how you spell play at all. And you save that goal, so that it tends to take you back to the first day. But and once you on the current day, it's a play the flute. I think you could disable that option as well, so it doesn't take you back to the current day. Anyway, and then we can add our notes. We could also edit it, right? Change the progress. set it to being completed. So yeah, this is our New Year's resolution tracker. This has been a long tutorial with wfTutorials. Peace out.